Hope everyone's doing well today. I just wanted to take a moment to talk about some things people should know in regards to Microloc Extensions, because I just did some back-to-back consultations, and I definitely wanted to talk about. I've been doing consultations for Microloc Extensions for years, and methods and techniques have improved, have changed, have transformed and evolved, and there have been some consistency in the kind of questions. I wanted to go over some points. All right, so there's some things you need to know. The first thing, well, let me preface this all by saying, back in 2010, about 2009 into 2010, I actually did my first full head Microloc extension client. Prior to that, if people remember me sharing in my lives, that about 50% of my first clientele, the women that came in my first year, were repair, reattachment, but coming in from other places. And so because I wasn't locked into any particular system, I spoke on that a lot. I had the ability to innovate, create, and I was seeking and creating techniques to address things like lock reattachment. And people who had thinning or balding hair that could not create locks on their own, or wanted to keep the look of locks, but that weren't. I started with rehab and repair, so they weren't able to do that without assistance. So my methods were unique. I had to find trainings that I could take to apply to create what it is that I felt that was needed. So when people are looking for this kind of option, you have to kind of understand that, again, like with a lot of different, with Microlocs in general as well, you have to know what the technique is, or understand. That's a good question. Or that's a good sense to get, because they're going to vary. It's not going to be just one way, one thing. Because just so many people have their creative and unique spin on things. So good questions or good things to understand, to ask: is the option that they're offering permanent, or is it something that is designed to be temporary? Are there long-term results in the Microloc extensions? So what kind of hair is used? What kind of hair, how does it vary if they use different types of hair? What methods, like what are they doing? Are they really proficient in just extending locks? Are they creating locks from scratch? Are they doing any weaving, or any installation, any rehab? You may not, it's just some technical things you may not know, but for me, someone advanced, I used to do a technique that I don't do anymore. I used to do wrap. There's things that create a lot of slippage, will have your locks unravel. And so certain techniques I feel are not they're not optimal, but they may be what someone does. So you kind of got to understand, these are some things that would matter, and the longevity, because I feel some techniques would unravel, slip down, get a little fat, misshapen. Also, some, depending, there are faux locks that aren't designed to be permanent, and they look, very shiny and wrapped, and that's a technique, and that is something that people might look for. But for instance, someone like me, I wanted to create an option that looked as realistic as possible. So that's a good thing to identify. Are these locks going to look really like my hair, or are they going to look like extension? So I have some of my little examples. These are colored and all these different things, because I experiment a lot. But I designed, want the locks to look like hair. So I would always hold it closely to my own locks and say, does this look like my hair? Does it behave? Will it curl? Will it curl like hair? Is it pliable? Is it bouncy? So it was important for me when I was thinking about, because I love to curl, that the hair would do that. When it's wet, they get straight. This is my own unique innovation. I can't say what anybody else does, what anybody else's unique spins are. So it's really good to understand that. and look for those things that matters to you. So the next point would be maintenance. So what maintenance, what does it look like with the microloc, with the extensions? Who can do the retightness? Can anyone do it? Does someone have to have a special skill and training to do the retightnings? What should you do or not do? So those questions I'm often clearing up. That with my alternative, I want people to be able to go and get their hair retightened. I want them to mimic real locks as much as possible. However, there may be things that happen with your extensions that only that professional can address. It's really important to know that if they're far away, if you're traveling, that if you're having an issue, is it feasible for me to be able to get to that person? So those are things to factor in to what to look for, what you're assessing for loc extensions, microloc extensions in particular. Then there's cost. So is this cost, what's the recurring cost of this service? Is it just one time? For instance, how much work depending on how much work it entails, the price could be significantly different than when you're not getting loc extensions. So I just did a consultation. Sometimes I do this a lot. Sometimes people are on the fence. So say, okay, we'll take your time and we'll use this time to go over what it would be like without extensions, pricing, process, etc. Then what it would look like with extensions, pricing, time-wise, your lifestyle, everything. And we'll have these two things. And sometimes I give a dual quote and dual, I always give people follow-up service policies that I create. It explains it all in detail and explains those things and what the retightening costs and what that entails. So you have to think about those things. Do I need to come back to this person a few more sessions to make sure things are where they need to be? Can someone else do it? Do I have this income? It is not cheap for really done high quality extensions, period, but especially loc extensions and then my microloc extensions are not cheap. It requires a lot of labor and sometimes a lot more time. So you got to think about those things. Then I think this is probably one of the most important questions. Is this really what you truly want? Is this really what you truly want? As I explained in the consultation I just had, and I've been explaining this for a lot of times, I really can only speak for myself, but when I created this technique, I used it to address issues like rehab and repair, rehabilitate. I was very much a social worker, seeing what I could do as an option for women with hair locks that come in with locks and bags and all these things. And I was just like, there's nothing out here for women. I just understand how that can really hurt a woman to really want to wear her hair naturally, but not have an option. It's not always about superficial and vanity. There are really some people that really truly need, and otherwise they're going to be wearing wigs and then they have to figure out how they're going to do that. So I usually do this filtering process just to understand if someone has a full, luxurious, beautiful head of hair, but it's just not the length that they want, or it's something that is achievable for them to have naturally. I really boil it down and say, because thinking about the investment of time, the investment of money, the possibility for some risk factor, some possibility that locks might come out. You might not be able to get it fixed. You might move. And all these things that could be, as opposed to you having your hair in with your own hair and then having a little bit more option for maintenance. So that's one of the first things I do to filter it out. Can you achieve these results with your own hair over time? If that's yes, but some people might say it's not the right length right now. It's short right here. I want it all to be the same length. It's this. So then we look at that. Like, what is that? Is there just a little patience? Or maybe you truly, it doesn't mean to know. It's just, let's get down to it a little bit more. Next is, how sustainable is this option? If you're quite a distance away, how feasible is it for you to come all the way to me to address a problem that maybe someone else may not address? or trying to, having someone else do someone else's work. Like, it's really ideal for you to go to the person that installed them to get it corrected if there's some corrections or adjustments or reinforcements. And so that's something that is important to consider. And also, will you change your mind? You think you want it now? Will you change your mind? Are you really set on this style? It's just in general with locks. But when you're making an investment of time like that and money like that, they're not easy to take out. At least when I put them in, they're designed to be permanent. They're not easy to come out. As opposed to some other options, if you just want to try the look, there's other options that you can do that'll be much, much easier to take out and give you some room if you decide it's not what you want to truly do. Did you really think maybe you wanted something else? Maybe you wanted a different option, but you didn't. So for instance, someone reached out to me about another type of extension she saw, and it looked a little bit different, a lot looser. The hair was more loose. It was a different look. It was nice, but it may not be what someone else wants when they're thinking of microloc or loc extensions. So if you are wanting something slightly different, see if that option is out there, as opposed to trying to get something and you're not being fully satisfied. If you want the hair all out and like different looking, then you either can consult and find out if that person does that, or find someone that does exactly what you want, so you get what you want. And this is one of the big questions. Are you just impatient? I know this option wasn't around when I got started. This is why I felt like I went and created something. I was in Brooklyn, New York, and I saw a bigger loc extension, but I knew if this was out, I might have been tempted to call around and say, can you just give me, I want my hair to be long right from the start. I don't have time to wait. I have a fat face. I loved my extensions, my braids, or I even wore wigs and I even wore weaves, just because I always felt like I needed it to balance my hair out. And I had to go through such a transformation to accept when I started with 4 inches of hair. I was gonna have little, and they weren't gonna be full. So my hair was already thin. My hair is thin, and I have the edges are not all filled in. They're kind of thin. And when I started, they're much thinner when you start small interwoven locks, and then they swell and expand. And so I had to really go through accepting that. If I had options like the one I created, I think I would have probably been tempted. But I'm so happy that I did decide to go forward with my own hair and have this all be my hair. Doesn't mean it's any better or worse than someone who gets extensions. It's just that it did require me to have some patience. It did require me to fall in love and go through this journey with my own hair, because I had the ability to do. Even though my hair was thin, even though I had some thinning from braids, it really forced me to make peace with some things, and it was on a deeper level than even what I thought it was. So that's an area. And I don't want to dissuade people, but I have to tell people that I am a social worker that has a beauty business, and there is a lot of things that drive our behaviors that I think that it's worth examining, so we get what we want. We don't drop a lot of money and a lot of time on something. Now, if you know for sure you want it, go for it. And if I do a consultation, you're absolutely sure, and I don't refuse a service that can be done, but I also filter it down, because about 75% of the conversations for people looking for microloc extensions, at the end of the conversation, they've thought it through and they're like, you know what, this makes sense. And then when we crunch numbers, and they're like, you know what, I just really do think I need some patience. I really do want it to be, even though they can look at the extensions, they can see it looks like hair, and that I show examples. I show you what you're gonna get. Sometimes people see my work, they see pictures, so it's not like the question isn't on that it doesn't look good. The question is it right for me? So those are some things that I think have really come out in all these consultations that I've had. They're common questions, and it's a technique that it's not done consistently the same way by different people, and so you kind of got to filter it out. So if I did want to say though, I will be presenting on extensions, my Microloc extensions, at an extensions expo. It is now virtual. It is an expo on hair extensions across the board, weaving techniques, wig making, all these different things. And the organizer was like, I think this is definitely something that needs to be included because there's a lot of people getting their hair locked. And again, I started this option alternative as a hair restorative method. And so there are many women that would love to know about this option or hair loss options in general. So I just wanted to let you guys know that that's happening virtually. And that's the 18th and the 19th of this month, October 18th and 19th. So I will be presenting on Microloc Extensions, intro and options. So I'll be going over and doing a demo that Sunday, I believe, from 2 to 3:30 p.m. And that's at extensionsexpo.com. Now, I have, so if you're like a person that's either hair care professional or a person interested in these options or both, you just want to know all these different methods and techniques out there, I think you should definitely check that expo out. You might be able to connect to some of her YouTube videos on Extensions Expo. But what I'm giving, there's VIP tickets, and that includes the expo is 2 days long, so that includes access to the expo for 2 days. There's 72 classes. VIP tickets gives you access to 72 classes. Is insane. I've seen the work of these instructors. Been doing this work for decades. Like, I'm definitely going into classes because there's things that I could learn. There's 6 expert panels. So they're talking about hair reveal, wigs, weaves, hair loss, business panel, social media panel, and roundtable. And then there's a speed networking breakfast. And then there's an access to all the VIP replays. So you can watch them again. So if you go on the site and try to get a ticket, you can, but I'm giving a discount for people, and I'm giving people $20 off the discount. So it's like $149, which is a steal because for 72 classes and all the stuff. But I give you $20 off of that, $129, and I'm gonna put the link where you can get a ticket from me with my discount in the description of this video. And hopefully you can check my class out. So if you're interested, you can check my class out. There's other types of tickets. I think there's another one that just gets you to 2 days, but I don't know if you'll be able to see my presentation in it. But that's just a little plug for them. That's because I wanted to do that because I'm a part of it. But this is really, I plan to kind of do a little bit more talking and showing demos about my extensions and options, and some of the work that I've been doing this time again. But those are some common questions. Thank you for joining this video. And I hope that you have a great weekend. And again, I'm going to put the link in the description of this when I close these videos, and you can check it out. Bye.